This is the story of my great-grandfather, who I've always referred to as OPAPA. He was born in 1912 and died in 2004 when I was 13. I remember him as a courageous, loving man who would do anything for his family. This is an image of the two of us. I was his first great-granddaughter, and I remember the pride he had for me. I tell his story to the best of my knowledge. My OPAPA was born in Germany in a small town called Endersbach, right near Stuttgart. He grew up here and then trained to be a police officer in the early years of his life. When Adolf Hitler came into power in 1933, things changed rapidly for my OPAPA. The first massive change happened when he was summoned to work in Berlin as a police officer in 1936. Hitler had won the right to host the Berlin Olympics, or the Nazi Olympics as many called it. The Nazis were in power and the world was readying for war. After the games ended in 1937, my OPAPA was requested to go to Marienbad, which is in Czechoslovakia, to spread the message to all Sudetendeutschen to make their way back to Germany. Sudetendeutschens were ethnic Germans living in the land of the Bohemian crown. Whilst he was in Marienbad spreading this message, he met his future wife, Barbara. In 1939, Germany was declared at war, and my OPAPA became a scout on a motorbike, riding ahead to make sure the coast was clear for the army to move forward. During one of these expeditions, he was shot in the liver. Everyone says it's a miracle that he even survived. This meant that he could no longer fight and instead was sent to Berlin to study and become a paramedic. After completion of his studies, he was needed as a senior paramedic at a station in Diedenhofen in France. By now he had 2 children, my Omi and Wolfgang, and his wife, who he took with him. In 1944, the station was shut down, and Barbara, Omi and Wolfgang had to leave. The safest option for them was to go back to Marienbad. My OPAPA had to stay in Diedenhofen with the rest of his troop. He stayed here until he was captured by the American troops who sent him to prison in France. Because he was a paramedic, he was in high demand and in need in Germany. Therefore, he received a special passport and was swapped with another paramedic the Germans had held as hostage. After his release from prison, he managed to steal a bike and ride from Czechoslovakia to the German border, where he met his uncle, who smuggled him over the border and helped him to Marienbad to meet his wife and kids. After the war ended in 1945, Czechoslovakia was no longer so hospitable towards the Germans because Germany had lost the war. However, the Americans came to their aid and decided to help mothers with children flee back to Germany. Luck was on my OPAPA's side, and because he was a paramedic, he was the only man accepted onto the truck and was allowed to travel back to Germany with his family. Everyone was crammed in the back of the truck, and after 2 days, they ended up in Pilsen in Hungary. They waited here to be eventually picked up by a train travelling to Germany. This train was dropping all refugees to East Germany. My OPAPA, however, had family in Stuttgart and wanted to go there. On the train, he was constantly aiding the sick and never in the same compartment as Barbara, Omi and Wolfgang. They couldn't speak English, and so my OPAPA was worried that they would get let off the train either at the wrong destination or without his knowledge. My OPAPA managed to find paper and string and made necklaces that had Stuttgart written on them. He hung these necklaces around their necks and told them to just keep saying Stuttgart, 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 Stuttgart. This is exactly what they did. And surely enough, this is where they ended up. After the war ended, OPAPA went back to the police force and the kids started going to school. At school, the children received daily food from the Red Cross. My Omi says the best thing ever were jack potatoes with sardines and the delicious soup. It was fatty food and she was quickly able to put on weight. My OPAPA lived to 91, going for a walk every day until his last breath. His traditions still run in our family, and every Christmas we cut an apple and we all have to eat a small slice. As he always told us, if we ever get lost in life, think of the Christmas apple and it will guide you home.